everybody. We're finishing out this segment of the Rocket and Reidsville show this afternoon, talking about living in the historic district and just outside the historic district. And right now we've got Catherine Wilson with us this afternoon. Thanks for joining us today,
It's a
Catherine.
pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for having me.
Well, you are more than welcome. Catherine is just an instrumental part of our community. She has done some wonderful things in our community and continues to do wonderful things. But Catherine, I want to talk to you today about living in this house and living in Reidsville. I know you're originally from Reidsville, correct?
Yes, born and raised, yes.
So, and you left Reidsville.
I did. I left Reidsville in the early 80s, and I moved to Newport News, Virginia, where my oldest sister was living at. And I stayed there until about, I think I came back home in 1989. When my mother, she had started getting a little ill, and I came back, and she bounced back. So I just stayed here, not knowing I was going to end up over here, but I stayed here, and it's just home, now. I don't think of any other place that I'd like to move to. So yeah, I've been here for quite a while now this time.
Well, and Newport News and Reidsville are two completely different locations,
Yes,
are they not?
yes, very much so. Living in Newport News, it was really loud. Not just dogs barking, but it was loud because of traffic, and the shipyard was close by. You heard whistles blowing all the time. And whenever I would come home, it would be so peaceful. And when I would go back the next morning, I said, oh, I'm back in Newport News. You automatically knew with the noise,
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it is completely different.
It is, and I think that's one of the things that people really love about Reidsville is it's that small town. If you want to be involved in that hustle and bustle, you don't have to go far to be in it.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So let's say you bought this house, about 5 years ago?
Actually, I look back at the deed and everything. It was 6 years ago. This past Saturday, the 17th.
Oh wow, isn't that something?
Yeah, it's funny how I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, I bought it in 2015, and it wasn't my first choice. In fact, it was the least of my choices. Just looking at the front with all those windows, I hated it. And the lady that was working with me, she showed me houses all over Reidsville. And one day she was showing me a house down the street. And the day that I seen this house the first time, I said, no, I don't want it. It looked like a doctor's office. I did not want it.
It does have
Yes.
that feel to it. Yeah, yeah.
And we were sitting there at a house down the street, and it started to rain. And I said, wouldn't it be something if the first house you tried to show me would be the house I would fall in love with? And she said, let's call him. And I said, oh my goodness, I don't want to see that house. And she called, he said we could be there in 15 minutes. So we got up in the rain and we came up here, and I walked in the front door and fell in love. As soon as I stepped inside the door, I said, oh my God. And she actually punched me. She said, I knew you would like it, but I couldn't force it on you. Mm-hmm. And I did. And this was like the last of August, close to like the middle of August maybe. And I had to be out the other house by the 1st of July. And so I had already got approved for my loan and everything. And when I got with her, and she said he was ready to take the bid that we gave him and everything, I said, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? Because I got to get out of this other house, and I'm not ready to move in here yet. We had to do so much. And she said, well, what's the latest you can stay there? I said, the 17th. She said, I'll have you in by the 17th. And I said, oh, wow, this is never going to happen. But she did it. And on the 17th, I went to close, and I came back and went to the storage building and got enough furniture for me to move in here on the same day. So I've been here ever since.
Well, and tell us what you think about the neighborhood. You're
Oh,
right
my God.
outside the historic district.
Right.
Right.
But the neighborhood is amazing. It's a very blended neighborhood where everybody helps everybody. I haven't had one problem since I've been here with a neighbor. In fact, after I moved in here, I had to move my brother and my mother in with me for a while. And I was having problems keeping the yard mowed and all of this. And my neighbor, which was a lady across the street, she just come over with her riding mower, and she would just cut the grass for me and leave. So, I can be out raking leaves, and she'll come over and she'll be like, what you doing? And next thing I know, we're raking leaves and talking. And it's just a blended community. The lady next door to her, she locked herself out, and she came over in her gown, and we had to call a locksmith to get her in. And I have a flower that she gave me when I first moved here. As you can see, I love different flowers. Mm-hmm. She gave it to me when I first moved here. And of course, we have an apartment building next door, and it's the quietest place you could ever imagine. So it's just peaceful here. Of course, I can hide my car in the back, so I don't have to worry about a lot of people finding me. They say you're never home, but I am home. I'm just here, you know.
You just
So
hide that
yeah,
car.
you just come around and just park and just be gone. Yeah, but it's very, very pleasant. I do love it. The only thing I don't like is I don't like a big yard. And now I realize how much work it is. I
Right.
don't like a big yard, you know.
Right.
So if I could do it, I'd just cement it all and paint it green and just be done with it.
Well, and especially as we get older,
Right,
that yard
yeah.
work becomes less and less desirable for us
Right.
to do. Yeah.
But this house was actually everything that I asked for. When I was telling her, she knew that this house had everything that I wanted, but it just didn't look right from the outside. And that's why it's hard to judge stuff from the outside a lot of times. Because as soon as I walked in, all the open windows, of course, everything is closed today because I don't have time to open in the morning, close at night. And most of the time I'm in my bedroom or down the hall, so I just leave everything closed.
Well, based on all these windows, I'd be inclined to say it probably takes you 15 minutes to open and close.
It
all
does,
the
it
doors.
does. And yeah, when family come over there, open them up, I said, make sure you close them before you leave. Leave, yeah. But it's a wonderful neighborhood. I have no problems whatsoever with it.
So, Catherine, you are from Reidsville, and you left and came back, and you have seen Reidsville change in many, many
Oh,
ways.
my God.
I am sure.
Yes.
And so I know that we, in the 22 years I've been here, I have seen Reidsville
Yes.
change greatly. So I think we're on a good path.
I
I'm
think so.
excited about the path that the city is on and our communities are on. And would this be something would Reidsville be a place you would recommend for other people to come and live?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if they said, well, I'm just looking for a quiet place to live, I would definitely recommend it. In fact, the house next door, when I moved here, it was a gentleman there, and he passed, and they had it up for sale. And it stayed empty for so long. And I was showing it, I was telling different people about it, but they were like, it was just too much yard. They wanted to keep the trees. They wanted to keep it up, and it was just too much work. 'Cause they like my age now, they have time to think about that. But I would definitely recommend Reidsville as a place. If you want a quiet place to live, you do have to take charge of your neighborhood. You do have to get involved. You have to, you just can't move to any place and say this is the way it's going to be. If you're the troublemaker, then maybe you need to move to a troublemaking neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Don't bring it over here, because trust me, we don't have a community watch sign up. But I do get phone calls say, hey, did you see so-and-so? The lady across the street, 2 doors down, her mailbox got hit, and they call me, did you pick it up on your camera? Oh, we're watching,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
It's
that's
important
what,
that
it's very important,
yeah.
yeah. So I would definitely recommend Reidsville because I live here and my family is here. And it's still close knit with friends. It's always, if you want to do something, it's something to do. But I could stay at home a lot of times and do nothing. So
Right.
a lot of times I get pulled out like today, but a lot of times I'm just here.
Right.
I'm home and people, I take care of my family and do what I have to do. But when I do want to go somewhere, it's always somebody in my family going somewhere, and they'll call and say, you want to go? And I'm like, no, I don't eat that. I'm not going, and they're just going to leave me here.
Right.
But Reidsville is really a nice place to live.
It is a nice place to live, and I think the growth that we've seen in the past few years has really been instrumental in where we are today.
Right.
And so I think that the growth is coming. There is no doubt about it. We're so close to Greensboro, and our proximity to Greensboro, it's coming. So, and I think it's exciting for us. It's a very exciting time. But I hope that even with the growth, that we can always maintain that small town feel.
Exactly.
And that know your neighbor if you want to know your neighbor feel.
Right.
So I want to thank you for being with us
Well,
today,
thank you
Catherine.
so much for having me. I really do.
Again, Catherine does so much for our community. She is very instrumental in the block development that's been going on downtown with what used to be the black businesses downtown. We've got a beautiful mural that's getting
Just
ready to go
coming.
in down there. We're excited about that.
Yes.
We'll do more on that as we get closer, but Catherine's she's a wonderful asset to Reidsville, and we just thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Miss and I call her Miss Judy.
That's okay.
She is just a sweetheart. I call her. I mean, we've bumped heads, and
We
before we
have.
get off the phone, we'd be like, okay, we got clarity on there. We can move on.
That's right. That's right.
So yes, it's a wonderful place, and it's a good place to be involved with the things that I do, because I do stuff on you say it's a large scale, but to me it's a small scale. I just come in, I get these phone calls, and I just go in, and I'm like, why am I here? And
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do what? Because I
Right.
have not a clue,
Right.
But I do. I enjoy doing what I do, and I enjoy, just meeting new people new faces all the time. You know, things are forever changing, and that's something that we just have to get used to is change.
That's
So-
right. Change is inevitable.
Exactly,
Isn't it?
but
That's
with
right.
all the big businesses that has come into Reidsville, it still amazes me that it's still so quiet and low key. That people still consider us to be, oh, that's just little old Reidsville.
Right.
I hope they forever think like that. Keep bringing the taxes and the money in here.
That's
and
right.
Making ways for us to do what we do, you know, because we'll come to you. We'll be like, okay, we need a donation, you know.
That's right.
And also, yeah, keep bringing the businesses in, but let us just keep that small town feel, you know.
That's right.
I love it. I love it.
I think
Thank you,
it's
Miss
very
Judy.
important. Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate it.
I thank you so much, and everybody for coming. Thank y'all.
That's all we've got for today, and we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you again next month.